What if I told you that you being here right now was not an accident? Something in you already knows what needs to shift. Something quiet has been trying to get your attention for a while now, and today, for whatever reason, you actually stopped. So let's not waste that moment. There is a voice that lives inside you, not the one you use when you speak to other people, the one that runs in the background, between moments, between breaths. Most people never examine that voice. They just absorb it day after day until it stops feeling like a voice and starts feeling like reality. But here is what very few people ever realize. That voice is not telling you the truth. It is telling you a story, and you have been collecting evidence for that story for years without even knowing it. You decided something about yourself a long time ago. Maybe it was the result of one moment that felt too significant to forget. And from that point on, your brain started doing something incredibly efficient and incredibly dangerous at the same time. It started filtering everything that confirmed the story you noticed, everything that challenged it, you explained away. Over time, a pattern that was never actually true became something that felt completely undeniable. Here is the thing about patterns, though. They are not permanent. They are practiced, which means they can be unpracticed. But even when people sense this, even when something inside them whispers that the story might not be the whole truth, they hold on. And I want to ask you something honest right now. Why do you think that is? Why would anyone cling to a painful story about themselves? Because that painful story is familiar, and familiarity, to the deepest and oldest part of your brain, reads as safe. The known, even when it hurts, feels less threatening than the unknown, even when the unknown might be beautiful. So people stay in places they want to leave. They stay in habits they hate. They stay in versions of themselves they have already outgrown, and they call it circumstance, when really it is just fear of the unfamiliar wearing a very convincing disguise. Now I want to be honest with you, because this is the part where most people nod along and then go back to their lives unchanged. Understanding something in your mind and actually moving through it in your body are two completely different experiences. The thing keeping you stuck is probably not something you lack knowledge about. You likely already know what it is. You have probably named it to yourself in a quiet moment, or described it to someone else as if it were their problem and not yours. The real obstacle lives below thought. It lives in the tightening in your chest when an opportunity shows up. It lives in the way you look past certain mirrors, physical and otherwise. It lives in the held breath before you say the honest thing, the one you always seem to find a reason to swallow. And here is what that obstacle often looks like from the outside: preparation. Endless, exhausting, perpetual preparation. One more thing to learn, one more condition to meet, one more reason to wait until you feel ready. But here is what years of watching this pattern reveals. The preparation almost never reduces the fear. It just reorganizes it. And the people who actually began were not the ones who had prepared perfectly. They were the ones who decided that the discomfort of starting was worth more than the comfort of waiting. That is a small distinction. The consequences are enormous. There is another layer to this that almost nobody talks about. It involves the way you think about your future self. You imagine that person as somehow more ready than you are now, more capable, more resolved, so you make agreements with them. Tomorrow I will begin. Next month I will address this. Once things settle down, I will make the move. But that future version of you arrives carrying everything the present version of you avoided, and immediately makes the same agreement with an even further future. Not because you are weak, because you have a structural blind spot about time and continuity, and it compounds quietly across years. The gap between who you are and who you could be is not mainly a gap of ability. It is a gap of attention, sustained, deliberate, honest attention. What you return to consistently shapes you, not in dramatic ways, not overnight, but with a reliability that is almost mechanical. The content you consume, the conversations you repeat, the comparisons you can't stop making, the worries you revisit at midnight, none of that is neutral. All of it is a direction, and you move in the direction of your attention whether you mean to or not. And maybe the most dangerous pattern of all is the belief that change requires a dramatic event, a breakdown, a loss, some undeniable signal from the universe that the time has come. So you wait, but the quiet evidence is always already there. It is in the mornings that feel heavier than they should, in the conversations that leave you smaller than when they started, in the slow, patient signal from some part of you that has known for a long time that the current arrangement is not working. You do not need a dramatic event. You only need to stop explaining away the quiet signals. So here is the only thing I want to leave you with today, and I want you to actually sit with it instead of just moving on. What is the pattern you already know about? Not the one you are about to discover, the one you already recognize, the one that exists in the honest version of your thoughts when everything else goes quiet. That pattern is not your enemy. It was a solution once. It protected something real. But solutions from old seasons of your life have a way of becoming the problems of new ones. And holding on to them past their usefulness is a kind of loyalty to a version of yourself that no longer needs protecting. The patterns are not you. They are something you learned. And what was learned can, with real attention and some willingness to sit with discomfort, be unlearned. You stopped today for a reason. Do not let that moment go to waste.